Hello, my name is Richard Diver. I am the Senior Technical Business Strategy Manager in the Microsoft Security. And in this video, we're going to talk about the SOC Process Framework. We're going to give you a good overview of that. To do that, I've got my colleagues, Rin Ure, the Principal Cybersecurity Lead, and Mark Simos, the Lead Cybersecurity Architect. And we're going to go through the framework. This is part of a series of videos, so be sure to watch all of the videos. But for this overview, Rin, Mark, take it away.
Hey everyone, my name is Rin Ure, and I'm happy to be here. I'm the author of the SOC Process Framework, and we want to just spend some really good quality time with you today talking about this framework through these series of videos. And happy to have Mark with me here today to kind of collaborate and talk a little bit about how Microsoft is looking at security operations. Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Rin, and I really appreciate you inviting me to be here. I've done a lot of the authoring of sort of reference content for security operations for Microsoft, capturing lessons learned from our customers and from our internal CDOC, Cyber Defense Operations Center, and other security operations centers. And one of the things that Rin and I were talking about that we thought would be really important to make sure everybody understood is kind of how this guidance is a little bit different than the stuff that you might have seen from Microsoft to date. Because the first problem that we needed to solve as so many organizations were setting up a SOC or a security operations for the first time, they needed really clear, simple, prescriptive guidance, obviously based on best practices, based on the most important things to do first that you get the most value out of from a security standpoint. And so that's what a lot of the content that we've had has been really focused on heavily. Now these were built on scale models. These were built on large teams that could do things, oftentimes SOCs that Rin himself has built. and so these were, we focused really much on the simple view of things from a process model, a team model, a functional model, from a technology stack, like what is the most important stuff to do first. And that sort of left us with a little bit of a gap in terms of our guidance of, okay, how do you get to a sophisticated, complex, advanced team? Like what should be the ideal state? What does good look like when you've got those resources for a large team? And sort of how do you scale up to that? And what are all the detailed processes? And Rin did a phenomenal job documenting that with the SOC Process Framework, and I'm so excited to have him go through this with you and be able to talk about it, because it is an amazing piece of work that will really help a lot of teams really step up their game and mature. So Rin, do you want to maybe do an overview kind of the framework itself?
Absolutely. All right. So this is our SOC Process Framework. This is a framework that is built within Azure Sentinel. You will find this framework in the Workbook gallery under the Threat Management menu of Azure Sentinel when you log into your Sentinel instance. And inside here, we can see we have the SOC Process Framework, and we can see we have images that snap to the SOC Process Framework. And then also, right, we are then able to click in and dive into the framework here from this. We can choose a subscription, and we can choose a workspace, and then we can open that up. And really, this is the overview here. I just really want to talk a little bit about this as a whole, and why, why we spent some time developing this, because we had a lot of customers that were coming to us and saying, how do we operationalize, Azure Sentinel? And how do we plug in the Microsoft security stack around that operationalization into Azure Sentinel? What does that look like? What does it look like as far as a day in the life of an analyst? And what does it look like, from day-to-day responsibilities as we're doing triage, as we're doing incident response? What workflows do we follow? How do we snap to the different capabilities within Sentinel? How do we deliver on the the type of mean time to, investigate and mean time to recover, and those KPIs, right? That oftentimes SOCs measure the progressiveness and the maturity of their security operations. And so this really aims to satisfy a lot of that. And so what we've done here is we've kind of built this procedural flow. It really is a high level SOC in a box, if you will, to coin a phrase, of thinking about the way each of those different procedures flow together and build out the interoperations for any analyst and SOC manager and SOC team to follow together. Things like, as you think about shift turnover and daily operations calls, scheduling and staffing and training, building out those models. What does that look like, right? And then once they're trained and they understand, then coming in and utilizing the tool, being able to monitor, understand use cases and modeling those use cases, applying automation and building that into the life cycle of the incident response and triage process. What does the architecture and maintenance look like from that side of it? And then getting into the core procedures. What does that look like as they step into crisis response and call outs, doing incident management and problems and change, delivering on incident response, incident research and focused monitoring, then to be able to deliver out on incident summary and be able to provide that incident summary as a post-mortem, providing comments, periodic reports, and delivering on any other type of analysis that pertain to the type of enrichment that analytics can give that an analyst is snapping to during their incident response and triage phases. So all of this is really about bringing this together as a holistic framework that any security operations would be very proud to adopt, modify, and snap to help secure their line of business.
Just a couple of points to add there, if I can.
You bet.
The thing that I love about this is how comprehensive it is, because it is a full, complete, comprehensive operating model, and it has all the different pieces, and you don't have to necessarily build everything from day one, but at least having a sense of it and the fact that, oh, we need to have one of these, we'll just have the manager do this for now. It gives you the ability to kind of see the full picture and not have to worry about, is there something I haven't thought of? And so that's really awesome. And the big thing that I don't think we've said explicitly is this is just free, so, with Sentinel, including any trial things, you just go to the marketplace and get it. So it's really important to kind of remember how easy it is to go and get, not to get that lost in the in the details.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it is. It's free for them to enable, turn on, and then they can immediately dive into pieces that may be missing from their current maturity model.
Yeah. And and the thing, I mean, I learned a bunch on this, right? And I've been studying the SOC animal in the wild for a number of years now, and there was a whole bunch of pieces in here and some nuances that I really kind of got an appreciation for, things like the shift scheduling, the staffing, and how to kind of think about that. And like some of the detailed KPIs, like we always advocate the mean time to acknowledge, so that that your stuff isn't sitting there waiting for someone to respond to the red blinky light, and that mean time to recovery, like the business risk has gone down. But there's a whole bunch of other supporting metrics and other ways to look at it and measure it that were really kind of interesting to sort of view from that sort of within the operation of the SOC, not just what the SOC delivers to the business. So phenomenal sets of insights. Sorry, I'll stop bragging about your stuff now, Rin.
No, I love that. I love that. To kind of build off of the SOC in a box, this is another view of what that might look like. The first view is more of how all of those pieces interoperate together. And this view is kind of how all of the processes and procedures stack up within the box itself and how they represent across different categories. So we have the analytical processes we highlight in blue. We have our operational processes that are snapped to in green. Our technology processes that are in the darker color, and then we've got our business processes that are yellow, right? And so we really are thinking about it from not only the way that those operations are built and interoperate together, but now you can kind of see in this view, the foundational layers that you would want to start with, right? And as you're building up, you're thinking about metrics and process improvement. You're thinking about the type of business continuity and disaster recovery. And then on top of that, you're thinking about SIM administration and training, daily operations. And on top of that, right, you're building more of the intrusion analysis, the incident management, more reporting. And so we really are thinking about it from that foundational place, working our way up. Some of those pieces may come before other pieces, but that's okay, right? It really also depends on the maturity of the SOC operations within the line of business. And where any gaps may be. You may find that some businesses may have certain pieces that are already operational and working with some minor edits and tweaks and adjustments. Other pieces may be completely missing. And this framework really kind of helps any line of business understand where they may be in their maturity model as they're building out that security operations. And so thinking about it from both the interoperability perspective and how all of the pieces are connected to the foundational pieces as they're kind of going through that process hierarchy.
And the other thing here is, especially in the earlier stages of the journey for organizations there, you're trying to figure out, okay, like I've got these really talented folks. Some of them have an inclination a little bit more towards the business and kind of building those relationships with the application owners and the business contacts. Some of them are really good at the technology. Some have a broad technology view from an architecture standpoint. And there's different sort of skills and specialties and career paths, and this kind of helps light those up with the different cultures as well, so that people can find their happy place within the SOC and really find the way to use their talents best to achieve the mission.
I love that, and I couldn't have said that better, right? That happy place is so important to help with any maturity model and any career growth, especially during the type of career growth within SOC operations. And the reason I bring that up is because oftentimes we find a lot of burnout. And with this type of maturity model, you can help any analyst be able to grow, mature, and develop new skills and be able to move along a maturity path and a growth path within their career to help reduce that level of burnout.
Yeah, and you can see that, hey, we didn't realize it, but we were asking this person to do 4 different types of jobs, and we didn't mean to, but we didn't have anybody else that they could turn to. So let's see if we can get some help from the PM team or somebody else to really kind of bring some of those skills in, take that burden off, and let them do what they love. And so that there's a lot of opportunity here as you sort of look at that from that perspective.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. From a high level perspective, you'll notice on the left side, we have a menu of options. And again, kind of speaking high level, we have our main and our contacts. We kind of have our process hierarchy and our roles and responsibilities. Each one of these carve out additional details into those sections. But when we get into the analytical, business, operational, and technology processes and procedures, that's really where this workbook explodes and opens up into much more granularity. And let me kind of give you an example of what that looks like. So when we open up, let's say, analytical processes, now we have a table of contents with an additional menu to the right. And this menu is snapped to that table of contents so that you understand that the intrusion analysis piece is the high level, and then below that are the subsets, the procedures, namely incident triage and incident analysis, information fusion, and focused monitoring and SOC use cases, right? And then we step into, again, a couple more high level processes of host analysis, subtle event process to then dive into like data exploration around that subtle event process. Each one of these are built this way so that they can be expanded upon and matured for any line of business. And this really helps to deliver on the type of cadence that would be so welcomed in any SOC, right? Because this is the type of framework that may take months, if not many months to develop, and to snap to this type of working model with the type of processes here. So this framework really is thought through from a holistic perspective with a subset of a lot of areas of granularity so that the SOC framework can build on that maturity model for them diving into some of those areas. Same thing here on the business process side. Again, table of contents with a menu off to the right, and it kind of is snapping to that type of methodology so that you can kind of see how this builds out that process. These areas are really, really important because all of this can be modified within the workbook, can be updated and edited to the type of continuity that any line of business may need. Now, think about it this way. Some SOCs may have nomenclature that they follow. And the reason I call it that is because, depending on if you're retail, if you're government, depending on if you're some other type of vertical, you may have certain type of regulatory compliance, you may have certain type of other areas that you're snapping to. And so the nomenclature that you follow may be very specific to your line of business. That's okay, that's great. This framework is leveraging industry standards and industry standard nomenclature so that if you feel like you need to go, swing more towards the type of nomenclature that you have for your line of business, fantastic. Edit this workbook, make that more applicable, for that, so that you're keeping the terminology and the nomenclature consistent for your analysts, consistent for your leadership, consistent to other organizations that are snapping to you and helping you drive the type of KPIs that we've talked about earlier.
I just want to make sure it's crystal clear. This workbook is editable. You can do a find and replace. You can put in your team names. You can put in your process names. So you can just manually edit it as well. So just keep that in mind here, is that this is meant for you to adapt to your organization. And one other thing I just want to add real quick is the way we think about this, the way that I'm thinking about this, is it's sort of like having a well-lit warehouse, right? You may not need to go to every single corner and every single product and every single shelf, but you want to have it there and you want it to be well lit and easily accessible. And that's really what this is providing that sort of warehouse of how to run your SOC, all that knowledge that you'll need so that it's there on demand when you're ready to focus on that area. And everybody kind of can find their little home, their little space in it. That's like, oh, this is my job. These are the things I do. Oh, this is how to do it. And so that's really what we're trying to do here, is make that easy, organized, and there.
Yeah, I love that. That really is. We're trying to make it easy. We're trying to make it something that is easily adoptable. And I think that has been a challenge, for a lot of companies to take something like this and make it as easy as we've built this within this workbook, right? You turn it on, you click it, right? And then you can come in and make any of those edits, because all of our workbooks are completely customizable through the markdown code that we're leveraging in this particular workbook, any KQL queries that may be developed or designed in any of our workbooks, right? Any of those options are transparently available for our customers to make any edits or customizations.
Yeah, and feedback is, of course, always welcome.
100%. Yep. So this kind of gives you a high-level overview of the way the workbook works, the menu items within the workbook, and how the workbook is kind of carved out from the high-level options on the left to some of the sub-options on the right. I think the last kind of piece is to really highlight a little bit that we didn't cover, and this is kind of something that is really important. We do carve out roles and responsibilities. Again, this can be edited, right? If you feel like the roles and responsibilities within your line of business are slightly different than what we've carved out here, these are following industry standards around these roles. And so feel free to make any modifications to those as well as they pertain. This helps anyone that is in your SOC operations come in and understand, oh, now they know what the roles, responsibilities are for those levels, for those people in those roles. And then down at the bottom, we've created a responsibility chart and a matrix following a RACI model so that you can see who is accountable, responsible, consulted, and informed across the model. And this makes it really nice because if I'm a level 1, level 2 analyst, or if I'm a SOC manager, or if I fit more on the, forensics analyst side, or, maybe on the business unit side, maybe I'm on the director side, whichever I may be, I can now come in and kind of see where I fit, right? Where the line in the sand is drawn, who is informing me, or what pieces that I'm accountable for or responsible for. And I know kind of what that day-to-day looks like just from my roles and responsibilities. So this is important. This kind of helps shape the framework, shape how a person, the people side of it, then snap back to the processes and procedures.
Oh, yeah, this brings it home. This is the what's in it for me. Like or to be a little bit more sarcastic, the what would you say you do here kind of thing. It's and this I think really brings it all together, and I love how this kind of puts a bow on it.
I love that too. I appreciate that. I think the last couple of pieces I want to talk just high level about, we haven't got to this portion of it yet. This is the incident response framework. Now, one of the things that we set out to really develop around this was, what does a day in the life look like? And how do I operationalize that incident response, within Azure Sentinel, XDR, other tools that I may integrate, whether they're Microsoft first party or third party tooling. You're going to find with any line of business, there's going to be a mishmash of tools with people and skills. And so really what we're doing here is we're focused on Sentinel, right? But we're focused on the operational side. So you can imagine what those tools and integration of those tools will look like by following a process framework like this, where we're thinking about the watching and monitoring, the investigate, how do we triage, how do I apply a severity matrix, where do I gather more information, can I work to resolve it, or do I need to escalate? Right? If I escalate, who do I escalate to? Am I escalating to my incident response team? And who are they? Or am I escalating to an external team within my organization that is an owner of a process, an infrastructure, apps and services? Who's that owner that can help me mobilize, that can drive the type of incident workflow and partner with me that takes me to that resolution phase, right? Can they also work with me on assess and contain because they're the owner of this asset or owner of this service? And then from there, look at what remediate and recover looks like. And then at the end of it, again, kind of tying it all together and rounding it out, providing that post-mortem as I'm working with my incident response teams or any external teams that I've escalated to throughout any portion of this process to deliver excellence around my incident response. So now we really have thought through all of these areas that we kind of need to think about on our journey to the beginning of an investigation to the closeout of any investigation within our SIM tool.
I can't add anything. That's awesome. That whole cross-team orchestration within the SOC and between the other security and IT teams is, I mean, that's where we see a lot of organizations fall down. And so this is, a great way to help get those conversations started. Yeah,
it really tips over the silos And I really want, folks that are watching these sessions, these videos, to understand that you're going to walk into a lot of lines of business and customers where they're in siloed security modules, right? They're in siloed organizations. And one of the biggest conversations that needs to happen and happen early is how can we tip over, and do cross correlation or cross collaboration within these silos. And this process framework helps to deliver on that, to understand where those responsibilities might lie, and to then build that teamwork and that unity from silo to silo that may live within any given organization and or business. Because so many folks are like, oh, well, this is mine and I'm going to stay within this. And we can't think about that any longer. We've got to mature our mindset. We've got to take on a growth mindset of, working and collaborating with other teams, leveraging their expertise and their knowledge around assets and infrastructure, apps and services that they know about, and their keys to the kingdom are there. But I'm an analyst over here trying to work through an incident. And so I may not have that institutional knowledge that an external team may have. And so that partnership is critical during any type of an investigation.
Yeah, and maybe tipping over the silos is not the best analogy, maybe bringing the teams together or connecting them. But this is where a lot of the stuff that we talk about from the culture perspective and how important it is for teams to work together. Now, this is the concrete how of they connect together. That's all just built into this free framework.
Excellent. Great work, Rin. And thank you, Mark, for joining us on this overview session. And I'm really looking forward to the deep dive sessions to learn more. So please join us on the other videos in this series. And we're going to go through every bit of this in much more detail. Thank you.